Hey guys, Joey here with Joe's RV Tech DIY. So today we're working on an Atwood Wedgwood Vision range top oven, and sometimes these igniters, they go out. When you spin them, they won't spark. Other times it can be the igniters on the individual burners, but more commonly it's going to end up being a problem here with this igniter, or maybe it came unplugged. We don't know. Maybe two of them ignite and one of them doesn't. So that's the purpose of this video. We're going to show you guys some things that you can do to before you hire a guy to come out. So we're going to remove the grill top. We're going to move the top. You press forward and then lift up in the front and it pulls out, okay? And then there's two slots there, and it clips in to these two things here. So there's a tab there and a tab there. So we're going to set that aside. So then what you're going to want to do is I'm going to have my cameraman come forward here and look down at the igniter, kind of at an angle. Perfect. So each one of these represents one of the burners on the stove itself. And sometimes these things can come unhooked, but other times we find that the actual wire itself can get a break in it, and it'll start igniting on the actual top here instead of up here inside the burner where it's supposed to ignite. So we've seen it where it'll just be arcing right here instead of up here. So if you want to do a quick repair, you could put some electrical tape around it, but we highly recommend replacing the igniter and the wire. It comes just as a one-piece kit, but on these specific igniters, if you're spinning it and spinning it and spinning it and it still isn't igniting and everything is hooked up and you're not finding any spark anywhere, you may need to just replace your igniter. And in that case, you're going to unhook all three of these wires. And the cameraman come around front here. You're going to just slide this off. It can be a little tough, like this one's being. Give it a tug. Okay, pulled right off. And then just set that aside. You're going to need a Phillips screwdriver. I got this nice yellow one. This thing's pretty old. Father gave it to me back in the 90s. So we're just going to remove the first screw on the left. And then we'll set that inside there so we don't lose it. And then we'll remove the second screw. And then the igniter itself will fall right out. And that's all it is. On this specific one, it's a 1081-96. We'll post some links below in case you need a new igniter on your RV. This is a pretty simple DIY task. One thing I just want to recommend you do is make sure you have the propane off, because if you accidentally bump any of these knobs, it can actually start leaking propane on you. And then if you needed to remove one of the burners, so these specific burners, I have one already out, okay, but it's just a Phillips screw too. Here, I'll just go ahead and put the Phillips screw where it goes, and then I'll have my cameraman come around here. So right here, as you can see, there is a Phillips screw. If you just remove that screw, and then this would just slide right off. And inside there's a little plastic retainer. You want to always make sure you reuse this or retain it, because it will need to go on here, because otherwise propane finds its way out the front here. So once this is removed, you can see on the bottom here that this igniter has the wire. So you can replace just wires, and then the actual igniter itself is a little bit more difficult to remove. So we can go over that in another video, but you would remove this screw, this top plate comes off, and then you push the igniter through the hole and take this little retainer of the spring off. Most people, because it's cheaper, they just buy the whole thing already assembled. So we'll post links for that, but typically these don't need to be replaced. It's very rare. So most of the time it's going to be a wire or the igniter itself, which we just showed you how to take off. So we'll go ahead and put this back on. Just remember, Phillips screwdriver. So now my camera guy is going to come around front here. It's pretty nice having an assistant holding the camera. Feel pretty lucky. So when you put the new one back on, you just push it through the front here, and then I start each screw, line it up, and then you line it back on. Don't use power tools when doing this job because it'll strip the threads of the igniter, and you'll have to buy a new one when you're installing the new one. A lot of people like to do things as fast as possible, but in this specific scenario, I always like to use a manual screwdriver and just snug it up. Don't have to over tighten it. So then you put the lid back on. You can see the little flat piece there. So this one actually just goes inside the middle. I don't know if you guys can see it in the video there, maybe not. There's a little bar that it grabs onto and it presses on. So then we'll hook up each individual wire again. Now, it doesn't matter which one of these wires you hook up first. It's really just whatever you want to do. And we don't want to go over the top of the burners. We want to go under the burners, okay? So then we would hook our other one up that we took off earlier in the video. I'll have my cameraman come over here, and he's going to come down a little low. And right in here, you guys should see a spark. You just want to turn it. So that's sparking it. Another thing we want to discuss, the cameraman come around front here again. When you're turning on the igniter in the oven, a lot of these don't have an igniter inside of it. You have to use a long lighter. And in order for the pilot light to stay lit, the thermocouple has to come to a certain temperature. When these things get old and tired, it can take a little bit longer to light them, but it's probably one of the most neglected things on an RV. You should have your oven range top serviced annually, just inspected, and then that way you'll know if you need to replace your pilot light or your actual thermocouple inside the oven itself, which tells the pilot light to stay on. So I hope this video helps somebody out there better understand how to change out their igniter. Maybe you're trying to cook dinner right now and you're having a problem, and we discussed several different things it can be. So hopefully this video helps you. Now if you have one wire that's arcing out and one that's not, you can swap out the wires too if you don't want to use electrical tape, or maybe you don't have it, and put it on the burner that you want to use. So put the cover back on, just push back, slide it forward, the grill back on. And we have an oven that has an igniter again. So hope you guys enjoyed the video. Until next time, please give the video a like, a thumbs up, share it. If you don't like the video, shoot us a comment. Let us know why. We'd love to hear you out. Share it with your friends if you'd like. That always helps us. And if you guys subscribe, that helps us the most, because the more subscribers we have, the more content we can provide. We're trying to do as many videos as we can every week as we do jobs. So until next time, thanks for watching and safe travels.